Hello and welcome to another episode of Square State Sandlot. Got Raph joining me today, and I am your host, Bill Montoya. Got a lot to talk about with the eve of the NFL season today. Uh, Raph, I know you're very excited about your team this season, and other than the recent Chandler Jones news, I was starting to feel pretty good about my team as well. So we'll get into how we're feeling a little bit closer into or a little bit further into the podcast about our individual teams. But I did want to touch on a little signing you guys had today. You want to announce what happened?
Well, they paid Nick Bosa. Of course, it's a new record until the next guy. I did not hear anything about Chandler Jones, though.
Oh, I'll get into that. It's
Okay,
a fun little situation we got brewing in Las Vegas. So
okay, yeah. I mean, for those that didn't hear the numbers, 170 million, 122 and a half is guaranteed. I think it was averaging 34, 35 million a
yep,
year. I didn't see anything yet about how all of that is going to hit our cap over the next few years. Um, but hopefully he shows up and earns it. Doesn't,
yeah,
you know, step off the gas.
that's a lot of money to pay a non-quarterback, but I think he's probably worth every penny if he continues to play the way that he has been in his previous 4 seasons, 5 seasons.
Yeah, he missed I think 20,
Yeah,
like, but for like the whole year except for 2 games. But other than that, he's been really good for us.
yeah. So yeah, record record for non-quarterback. I think he's 3 million a year over even Aaron Donald, which was previous the highest paid defensive player. So very impressive contract for Nick Bosa, and I'm sure Chris Jones of the Chiefs is probably licking his chops, saying, "Well, there's the new bar." So I'm sure the Chiefs are kicking themselves for not getting that deal done, and we'll go into that a little bit more as we go further. But I did want to just quickly touch on Chandler Jones. Yesterday morning, he posted a lot of crap on Instagram, particularly about the Raiders and being locked out of the team work or the team facility. Not really sure what's going on there. Josh McDaniels was asked about it earlier this afternoon, and he said basically it's a personal matter and they're not going to go into it with the press. Um, when they kind of pressed him some more, he got agitated and basically said like it's a personnel matter. We're not going to talk about it through the press. You guys can, if you want to ask me about the game, I'm happy to answer questions about the game, but we're not going to talk about Chandler Jones. And then one of the beat reporters said, well, isn't it kind of a big deal having one of your captains like not at the facility and all that fun stuff? And he said he's not a captain. So it was announced that he's not a defensive captain this year. So anyway, lots of fun stuff. He basically just blasted the GM, Dave Ziegler, and Josh McDaniels. Um, it kind of seems like he's going through, like they said, a personal issue. I don't know what's going on, but apparently someone contacted his baby mama that he hasn't been with in 5 years or something. So all this fun stuff on the, you know, week week one of the regular season, it just tracks well with being a Raiders fan, and we can't ever have things go well. Last year it was, the Waller situation before the season started with him holding out for a new contract, even though he wasn't hurt, or excuse me, he was hurt, but as soon as he got that new contract, miraculously he could play again. So anyway, it never a dull moment being a Raiders fan. But we'll go into, obviously there's tons of news to go over in the NFL. We won't go over everything. As we go through, we're going to break down our picks for division winners. Um, so we'll start with the AFC, go through those, take a quick break, and then we'll go through the NFC and give our division winners. And with each one of those, we'll probably give a little bit of color as to why we picked that, and some of the things might come up, like the Jonathan Taylor situation going on in Indianapolis, Chris Jones, like I talked about with Kansas City. We'll give some of that flavor as to why we're picking the way that we are. And we can get into some of the more team specific news as we do that. But we won't be giving our Super Bowl picks and awards and all that fun stuff. We'll probably do that on a separate episode, probably coming out maybe this weekend after week one, maybe right before week one. I don't know. We'll have to figure out a time that works for everyone. And obviously, you see, Kyle isn't here either. I'm gonna try to get him to get his picks in before the game starts tomorrow, and then he can give his as we do that weekend version. So he's on solo dad duty right now as Carlene's out of town. So he's watching the baby, having fun with baby Jack. So all right, without any further delay, you want to start, Raph, with your division winner for the AFC East, or do you want me to start?
You start.
Okay.
Because I know who it's going to be. But
yeah, this is a complete homer pick. I'm going with the Bills. I think obviously they had the drama with Stephon Diggs and supposedly wanting out of town, but his salary cap dead money hit would be astronomical. Like I think it's 22 million after 2 more seasons of dead cap hit. So he's not going anywhere anytime soon. And I think he probably realized that. Maybe he really did want out, but at the end of the day, the Bills can't make that happen with their current salary cap. Von Miller's going to start the season on the injured reserve list. He'll be out at least the first 4 games. So obviously they'll need to produce some pass rush. I do like their defensive line even without Von Miller, but when they get him back, hopefully he's ready to go fully towards the end of the season for that playoff run. This is a very tough division though, so I don't think they'll win 14 games. I wouldn't be surprised to see them pull a couple back and maybe win like 12 games to win this division. And I think the Jets will be right there with them. Maybe Jets win 11 games, but then the Dolphins are also a good team, and the Patriots are probably, I mean, I still feel like they've got Bill Belichick. They'll probably be the worst team in the division, but I think they'll still have a respectable record, maybe at like 9-8 or 8-9, somewhere in there. So I don't know how I'm going with the 2 and the 3. I think probably Jet 2, Dolphins 3, just because you can't really count on Tua to make it through a whole season with the concussions that he suffered through already in his career. So I think I'd probably say Bills, Jets, Dolphins, and Patriots in that order. What do you have?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much exactly what I was thinking.
You're not picking the Jets to win the division and go straight to the Super Bowl with their new quarterback?
Definitely not. I know a lot of people are, but unless that's in the script, who knows?
The thing that concerns me with the Jets is, and the guy's name is escaping me at the moment, but was it Corey Davis that retired right before the start of the season, wide receiver? Let me see if I can find it real quick. Yes, Corey Davis. So he was projected to be like their number 2 behind. Jesus, now I can't think of their starter's name. The rookie from last year that had a great season.
You mean the one that they're doing all the daps with?
Let's see. Jets wide receivers. So Corey Davis retired, which leaves their wide receiver core pretty thin, and that's what concerns me about the Jets. And obviously, Aaron Rodgers is getting up there in age. He played really well last season, so it wouldn't surprise me to see him maybe not return to the MVP caliber, but it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him, towards the top of the quarterback rankings and all that. Their defense is stellar. He's never had a defense quite like what he's going to have with the Jets. So I think all the things together could lead them to be a playoff team. And like I said, I think they will be right up there with 11 wins, right behind the Bills as the number 1 seed. So they'll get a playoff spot as a wild card. But I don't know. I'm far from just throwing them into the Super Bowl. as of right now. So Garrett Wilson, thank you, Benny. Garrett Wilson's the wide receiver I was thinking of. He almost won Rookie of the Year last year, or maybe he did. He was definitely up there. Brees Hall's coming back. Then they signed. Oh, geez, I can't think of anyone's name tonight. The running back from Minnesota, Alvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook.
There we go. There we go. Yeah. So anyway, I think they have a good roster all the way around. Saul is going to have to prove that he can do it, and I really think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a huge asset for Zach Wilson going forward as well. He looked like a completely different quarterback in the preseason, and I think that is no coincidence with Aaron Rodgers being there. So, anything else you want to say about the AFC East?
Yeah, no, like you said, Bills. I was thinking like 12-5, and then maybe Jets 10-7, and then the Dolphins and Patriots plus or minus 500.
Yeah,
a game.
yeah, I think that's probably fairly accurate right there. I do know, obviously, the Dolphins are missing Jalen Ramsey. He's projected to be out at least till November, so they're going to miss him. I don't think they have a great cornerback group outside of him, so they'll miss him, and I think that's why they kind of fall a little bit.
They did get burnt toast Eli Apple.
Eli Apple. Well, he's never been on a team that's won a Super Bowl, so I think you could probably eliminate the Dolphins from contention right now. Okay, moving on to the AFC North, and obviously this would be a lot more meaningful if we had Kyle with us because this is his division that he knows the most about. This is another tough division for me to pick just because I feel like the Bengals are probably going to win it. They're definitely my favorite in this division. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me to see them back in the Super Bowl contention. Burrow is healthy. They said he should be good to go. He's not worried about his contract situation yet. I think he just realized he's going to get paid no matter what, especially after seeing what Herbert got. Wouldn't surprise me to see him get at least that deal or north of it. So I think he's going to be playing out of his mind. They have the best, probably 3 receiver tandem in the NFL. If not, it's right up there with the best of them. So I would go Bengals in this division for sure. Steelers, I think they are definitely an up and coming team. I don't know if they make the leap and get into the playoffs this season. They're so close. I feel like, especially with that Pickett and Pickens connection. Running back, maybe questionable. I wish Kyle was on to talk more about it. I know he loves the backup, and I can't think of his name right now, but I don't know. Their defense is always good. Tomlin's a great coach, so it feels like they're going to have a winning record, but maybe just 9 wins rather than the 10 I think it's going to take to get into the playoffs. And then the Browns. The Browns are one of those teams that it feels like on paper every year they get better, but somehow they're always at the bottom of this division. And I think the extra year in the system for Deshaun Watson's going to be good, and I think they'll be better. They have Myles Garrett, Defensive Player of the Year candidate all the time. But the Ravens, I feel like they got better, especially with that new offensive coordinator getting Roman out of there. I think it's going to allow Lamar Jackson to return to maybe not MVP form, but closer to it than he has been the last couple seasons if he can stay healthy. So I would probably go Bengals, Ravens, and Steelers with the same record. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to be 9-8, maybe 10 wins, somewhere in there. And then the Browns finishing this division at the bottom.
I was going to take the Steelers over the Ravens.
That's fair. I've got them tying. I don't know how it would break down head to head if they have the same record, but
yeah, I suppose that's a possibility, but I just feel like the Steelers they're gonna be underestimated a little bit just because the Ravens, they got names.
Yeah.
I feel like Odell is gonna be somewhat of a bust. he'll be somebody that they have to cover, so it'll free up somebody else. But
Uh,
um,
your love for Odell every time.
but I feel like the Steelers are going to make a big stride this year, and like you said with Tomlin, he's not going to have a losing season this year either. So
Yeah. I mean, the Ravens could definitely pull back a little bit, especially with Marlon Humphrey. He's already hurt. Um, like I said, I think everything they pull back on the defensive side, they're going to make up for on the offensive side with that new scheme because it was so vanilla. Like everything was just run with the Ravens, and I feel like Lamar's capable of throwing the football a lot more than they allowed him to in the past, 6 seasons, 5 seasons, however many Roman has been the offensive coordinator there. So I just feel like everything that they've pulled back defensively is going to improve on the offensive side and it's going to offset. So like I said, I think that the Steelers and the Ravens are going to be neck and neck there. Like I said, I don't know if they have the same record. Obviously, it's going to come down to tiebreakers for who's 2 and 3. But I really do think they have the same record. And it's funny because everyone is picking the Steelers as their dark horse team, which I could definitely see it. But as much as they've struggled with injuries the past few seasons, it's tough to put everything in on them, especially with TJ Watt. He's been injured, the last 2 seasons in a row? Missed significant playing time. So,
yeah, I wasn't sure like how many games, but his name is up there quite a bit.
yeah.
Run in the family, I think.
And then you have Browns finishing the division last as well.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately for the Browns, but
Yeah. All
they
right.
they had such a good moment.
Yes, they did. Bringing in the massage therapist enjoyer. All right. So AFC South, this is one of those divisions that is probably one of the weaker ones in the NFL. Um, let me have you go first.
Okay. So I'm going to go with the Jags, except they'll get it a little more. They'll dominate a little bit more this time instead of winning out 9-8. Um, I'm thinking 11
11
wins for
wins.
them, but and then it'll be Titans again, just because the team's been pretty consistent. I didn't hear any really big losses from them, and they got Hopkins, so that'll be one less person trying to tackle Henry.
Yeah.
Um, and then the Colts are imploding with their star running back, so we'll see if he even tries to play because he might not want to get hurt this year, because he got hurt at the end of last year.
Yeah.
And then, well, I say the Texans are going to be better than the Colts,
Okay.
but not much.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm thinking too. I think the Jaguars may even have the most. I don't know. I think because they're that much better than everyone else in their division, they're going to beat up on the division pretty well, and that might propel them into a 1 or 2 seed even, uh, because of how many wins they can stack in the division. Plus, they have a pretty easy schedule outside the division as well. So,
Yeah, that's something I forgot to look at was strength of schedule for some of these
yeah, I
guys.
think the Jags have one of the weakest, and so I think they could really beat up and, like I said, maybe even finish first or second seed in the AFC, which would be shocking, but I think they're good enough to, like I said, take care of business in the division and then take care of business against the non-division opponents. So I have them definitely winning it. I will never bet against the Titans as long as they have Mike Vrabel as a coach. I feel like he is just one of those guys that he's player first coach, but he also holds the guys to a higher standard. They did have quite a few losses. I mean, they lost their starting left tackle in Taylor Lewan. They finally released him. They did get Hopkins, but they lost their entire wide receiving core from last year, essentially. So it's going to be back to Derrick Henry and see what else we can get from anyone else. But they did get rid of oh geez, what's his name? Todd Downing. They got rid of their offense coordinator, which is one of the worst offensive coordinators in the history of the NFL. So that they could see some improvements from that. But I just worry that Henry is probably towards the end of his career now. I know everyone's been predicting that for the last 4 seasons or something like that, but as much as they're going to have to use him, I feel like it's really going to wear on him this season. So I think they'll probably be like 8-9, and then obviously that's still going to be good for second in the division. But then I think Texans next with C.J. Stroud. I think he's going to take some lumps definitely at the beginning of the season, but I think he's going to start to grow definitely in the second half. They got Will Anderson. I mean, they've got a nice core of young players there that I think they'll get better towards the end of the season, enough to win more games than the Colts. So Colts are in for a rough one, I think. Anthony Richardson, I think he will be a solution, but I think he is by far one of the least polished rookies, and they're just throwing him right into the fire. So I think it's going to be a rough learning year for him. And then obviously John Taylor, that situation, maybe they trade him, maybe they don't. He's out at least first 4 games. Like you said, I don't think him not playing is going to benefit him, because if he wants a new contract,
he's going to play,
right?
But
he's going to protect himself.
Yeah,
yeah,
he's going to be a little conservative.
That's the bad thing about where the running backs are, because if you don't perform well, then you're not going to get a contract. But even if you do perform well and they use you a lot, then it's like, okay, well, you're used up, so we can't give you a big contract. So they're stuck between a rock and a hard place right now, and it's really a rough situation for NFL running backs. But I don't know what they're going to do with him. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up trading him just to get something back for him, because I mean, it could franchise him next year again, I believe. No, he's still under his rookie contract, isn't he?
I'm
not
sure.
I think this is his 5th year. No, I think this is his 5th year option year, and then they can still franchise him 2 more times. So ultimately, he's going to have to show up if he wants to get paid, and that's a rough thing for running backs to have to do. But I know he wants out, and he's trying to make it as uncomfortable. But unfortunately for him, Jim Irsay is the king of uncomfortable. So I don't know how uncomfortable he can make him. All right. Anything else you want to say about the South?
No.
Okay. I'm going to go on to the AFC West, which is obviously my team's division. This one last year was supposed to be like, the best conference in the NFL. Every team was supposed to win, maybe even get into the playoffs, and that just didn't end up happening. I don't think many people predicted the downfall of Russ Wilson as much as he had. The Raiders definitely pulled back. They were a playoff team the previous year, and then they ended up only winning 6 games last year. Chargers, they're the Chargers. I mean, you can pretty much chalk them up to having the most games missed to the injured reserve list almost every season. So it's a tough division to predict. I think the Chiefs are obviously the cream of the crop in this division, but I do think they're going to probably start to see some pull back a little bit to get closer to the rest of the teams. As long as they have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they're going to be in the conversation for playoffs every year. I am going to go Chiefs first in this division, but like I said, I think they're going to pull back a little bit. I don't think they'll be that number 1 seed this season. Still got offensive line issues that they've tried to address. We'll see. Obviously, the Chris Jones situation looms large. If he is the key to their defense, I absolutely believe that. So if he's not there he said he's willing to hold out the first 8 games of the season. He would have to, first 7 weeks of the season. He would have to show up week 8 for it to register as an accumulated season. So if he's holding out all the way into week 8, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Chiefs lose, 3 of those games. So if they start the season 4-3, that's not a great start, because their defense is already not great. And if they're missing their key cog in there, it's going to be a rough season for them. And then if they do end up paying him, I mean, what does that mean for the rest of the roster? Because they're already you can't say they're in cap hell because somehow they continue to just pay everyone and it
Yeah, I was about to
continues
say
to work. But I feel like at some point they can pay everyone. I mean, maybe they can. I don't know. I'm not a capologist, but it feels like if they give Chris Jones $30 million a season, it's going to mean someone else is not going to get what they're deserved and probably get shipped out, things like that. So if they do end up paying him, I think his current contract only pays him like 18 million. So if they give him a $12 million salary bump, someone's going to get a trim or traded or cut or something like that to make room for him. Obviously, you could do some restructures to make some room. But like I said, I don't feel like they have much flexibility with what they've already done. So I don't know. I'm going to go with Chiefs 1. I hate to do this because I feel like I'm going to put my foot in my mouth, but I'm picking the Raiders 2nd in this division. And then I'm going to go Chargers 3rd and Broncos 4th. I'll let you say yours, and then I'll give you the why behind me picking the Raiders that high.
Well, I'm also rooting for the Raiders a little bit for Jimmy to do good because I like him. I was kind of thinking that between the Raiders and the Chargers, one of them is going to be 9-8 and the other 8-9. For me, it's a little too early to call which one. Maybe after week 1, I can make up my decision. But
Benny
I
just
feel like
said, "No
they're going
way
to be
the
neck
Raiders
and
finish
neck.
2nd," but
I it's going to be 2nd and 3rd. There's going to be one game apart, and I don't know if it'll be the Raiders or the Chargers. I mean,
I can't
Chargers do
pick.
have a lot of they got 2 pretty good receivers
Yeah, but they're
but
always hurt. Between Keenan
yeah,
Allen and Mike Williams, like they're
yeah.
never on the field at the same time.
Um,
And then they've got Eckler, which is probably the best all-around running back in the NFL. I guess you got CMC. They're
no,
pretty
but
similar.
Eckler is an awesome weapon for
Yeah.
them. But um, I just with Jacobs, well, I guess we'll see how Adams feels about the team. Um,
He's
but
not
between the
happy,
two of
but
them, if I feel like with them and Jimmy, they can do good things.
for sure. Who you got last? Broncos?
Yeah, I mean, sure, Russell Wilson lost some weight, but um, I don't see them doing anything really different.
Yeah. I think Sean Payton's a hell of a coach, but I mean, he was kind of handed a pretty shitty situation, especially with already their entire wide receiving core is hurt. I mean, they had KJ Hamler with the heart issue. Tim Patrick's already out for season again. Judy had a hamstring. I don't know if he's
As
going
I
to be
say, I
ready to
think
go.
Judy just got injured.
Yeah, so essentially they have no wide receivers. They did pick up Cam Sims from not Cam Sims. Who did they pick up? Philip Dorsett from the Raiders. I don't know if he is on the active roster, if they just signed him to the practice squad trying to get McDaniels plays and all that fun stuff like teams like to do before matchups. But yeah, I mean, they're pretty thin on the offensive side. Defense is always good, but I don't feel like it's as good as it has been. Um, so we'll see. I I don't have a lot of confidence in the Broncos this season because I feel like for them to succeed, Russell Wilson's going to need to be super mobile like he has been in the past. And I don't think even losing the weight, he's getting up there in age. I don't feel like he's going to be able to scramble like he did in the past. And that's his whole game. If you can get him to sit in the pocket, I mean, you saw last year he was missing wide open receivers, like not even seeing them. And part of that's probably, being 5'10" or whatever he is, trying to look past his 6'5" offensive lineman, uh, trying to see over them. But I mean, there
Or
were several
Carolina.
times. just not even knowing where anyone was at on the field. So, like I said, I think Peyton will make a difference, but a lot of the times you see coaches when they change the offensive scheme, it takes a year or two before it actually kicks in and starts to turn the page. And that's kind of what I'm thinking with the Raiders. Uh, Honestly, on paper, everyone's been saying they've gotten worse at every single position. Which I think if you go to quarterback, let's just start there. Do I think Derek Carr's a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo? If you're going based off of availability, yes, but I think Garoppolo plays within the system, runs the play that's called, hits the open receiver. Every once in a while, he'll make some pretty stupid passes where it's just like, what are you even looking at? You saw that, I'm sure, several times with the 49ers when he was playing there. So I think he is limited, at least in the deep ball and things like that. But I think for this specific system, he's a much better quarterback because Derek Carr wants to call the plays at the line, and he was trying to change that last year. And there were several veteran players that said, anonymously, of course, that plays were getting changed at the line of scrimmage that shouldn't have been, and they weren't getting put into worse situations and things like that. Coming from, players that are on the team anonymously, I would probably tend to believe that, where if they were putting their name behind it, maybe they're trying to, get on Josh's good side or whatever. But I don't know. I feel like wide receiver room is actually one of the better ones in the NFL. You've got Adams, obviously. Renfro is back. He's healthy. Waller, we lost him. He's one of the better pass-catching tight ends in the NFL. But he was also hurt for basically a whole season over the last two. Like he missed 16 games in the last two seasons. So if you're not on the field, you're not helping your team. Hooper's not a great wide receiver, but I think Mayer will be. Pass-catching tight end. Hooper, he didn't impress me at all during the preseason, so hopefully it was just shaking off jitters, learning the new system, whatever. But Jacoby Myers, he's good. DeAndre Carter, he's good. Trey Tucker, our rookie wide receiver, he looks like he may have something. So wide receiver is something I'm very excited about. And I think Jimmy will have plenty of weapons to throw to. And then offensive line is largely the same from last year that overperformed. Except we did swap out Alex Bars, who I think was probably the weakest link on that offensive line. We got Greg Van Roten. He won the position at right guard in the preseason. He played very well, tough guy, just a nasty blocker. So I think the line got better. Wide receiving room got better just based on health. And Jacoby Myers is probably better than Matt Collins, which is why he's getting paid $11 million a year, plus Renfro coming back healthy. And then you have Josh Jacobs, obviously. Amir Abdullah is a great weapon out of the backfield. So offensively, I think they have one of the best units in the entire NFL. I don't think you can dispute that. Obviously, you got to go out there and put it on paper. But I think we should have a great return. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see this as a top 8, top 5 offense in the NFL. On to the defensive side. Everyone said, this defense is a giant liability, and I would tend to agree with that, but I think we got better at every single position except for linebacker. Denzel Perryman was a great middle linebacker, but he also was a liability in coverage. I still would like to see them add a veteran linebacker that, like a Patrick Queen from the Ravens. They don't want him. They're not going to re-sign him. So if the Raiders could send the Ravens like a, I don't know, 4th round pick for Patrick Queen on an expiring contract, see what he can do in this defense, I would love to see that. But Rock Ya-Sin, we let him go and replaced him with Jason Peters. I think that's an upgrade. Not Jason Peters, Marcus Peters, sorry. I think that's an upgrade. Then you have, Nate Hobbs. He's coming back off of a semi-down year. He was banged up a little bit. I think he's going to return in strength. Safety's got a lot better. Plus, we drafted one in Chris Smith. He looked really good in the preseason. Merrick looked a hell of a lot better than he did last year. Marcus Epps is going to be an absolute stud from the University of Wyoming. So like I said, front four is great. If we get help from Tyree Wilson getting in there as a rookie and making some plays with Max Crosby, obviously you got the Chandler Jones situation going on. I wouldn't mind to see him get traded and free up some space, and maybe we send him to the Ravens and bring back Patrick Queen. Could be a trade that works for both teams. They like defensive ends. I don't know. Like I said, I think the team has gotten better at every single level except maybe linebacker, and probably even linebacker if Divine Diablo can stay healthy this year. So adding Robert Spillane from the Steelers, I mean, come on. I don't know. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. We have two of the best. We have the two of the best punters and kicker combinations in the league. So I don't know, man. I'm excited. I really think they could win. I don't know, 10 games. You said maybe 9-8. I'd say 10, maybe. That's probably the top end. Could even see them maybe 11 wins. I don't think they'll be. I think they'll be like one of the last teams in the playoffs if they do win 10 games. If they win 9, maybe they'll be on the outside looking in. But I really do think that they could have a good season that'll surprise some people, including my dad that's thinking they're going to win 2 games. So all right, so let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we will get into the NFC and your team. So we'll be back in just a moment here. And I'm back, but Raph is missing.
I'm on my way.
Raph rage quit. Got to get that beer. There you go. All right. So Raph, I'm going to have you go first in the NFC. We'll start with the East, which is always very hard to predict. Haven't had a return or a repeat division winner in what, 20 years almost? Maybe it's 20 years now. Who you got in the East?
Well, the Eagles will repeat. I mean, they lost some stuff, but it's. I mean, but the Cowboys, like, so last year, 14-3, Cowboys 12-5. Cowboys are gonna regress, I feel like, and then the Eagles should, kind of finish the same, maybe 13-4. I don't understand why everybody thinks Daniel Jones is good. And first, I'm just gonna go off the limb here, and Ron Rivera is gonna take the Commanders to the 3rd spot, and Giants will be 4th.
All right. I don't think that people think Daniel Jones is like amazing or anything, but what he did last year with the wide receiver group that they had was pretty impressive. So that definitely impressed me, and I think a lot of that has to do with Brian Dable. He brings out the best in his quarterbacks. Obviously, Josh Allen, he worked with him with the Bills, and Josh, from the start, I never thought Josh would come into the league and just tear it up right at the beginning, especially coming from that Wyoming offense that was run heavy nonstop, and basically the only reason he got to throw is if he improvised. So I knew it was going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but I think he took him from, a wild quarterback in college. Once Josh got his mechanics down and got into that Brian Dable offense, and Brian molded around him, he went from, a struggling rookie to an improved sophomore, and then his junior season, he just really started to take off in the NFL. So I think that's kind of some of the magic that you're seeing with Daniel Jones, and that's why I will be not picking them third. In fact, I think they leapfrog the Cowboys to take second in the division this year. So, yes, I do have the Eagles repeating. I think that this will be the first time you have a repeat NFC East champion in, I believe it's 20, 21 years, something like that. So Eagles 1, and then I've got the Giants 2, Cowboys 3, and Commanders 4. I do think that Ron Rivera, I love the guy. Logue, he was supposed to be on with us tonight, but he couldn't find his headset or cable or something like that, so he didn't get to come on. But he's an absolute fan of Ron Rivera from his Carolina Panthers days. I think Rivera is probably going to be the first coach fired this season. And I wouldn't surprise me to see Eric Bieniemy. That's how he gets his first chance to be a head coach, because he's the high-profile offensive coordinator that they brought in from the Chiefs. So they are going to, like I said, I think they'll finish at the bottom of the division. Sam Howell, I think, is their quarterback, and that's kind of why I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Terry McLaurin's obviously a huge weapon, but he's been banged up the last couple seasons, and I think he already is banged up from the preseason as well. So it's going to be rough going for the Commanders. Commies, which I don't think we'll be calling the Commies after next season.
Who did they have last year at quarterback? Was it Heineke for a little bit, or
didn't they have Mintz at the beginning of the season? And then, Heineke. They had, I think, 3 guys play last year. It was just a revolving door. So,
I mean, they still ended up 8-8-1.
Yeah.
I feel like with a better coach and new ownership, maybe I would just feel like they're going to be revived a little bit.
That's why it kills me, because I mean, we finally got rid of Daniel Snyder, but I think the first year is going to be a rough one. So obviously, you've already seen good benefits from fan engagement and all that. They sold out their first game for the first time in ages. So they've already committed, I think, $40 million for stadium improvements while they work on getting a new field. So I know they have a lot of positive energy going, but I just don't feel confident in the starting offense. Defense is going to be good. I really think it is. But like I said, I think, unfortunately for Ron, I don't think they do enough. And I think he's probably the first coach let go this season.
I don't know. I don't see how they just let him go after 1 year.
He's been there for 4, hasn't he?
I thought he just came in.
No. Let's see. Ron.
What am I thinking? Maybe I was doing.
Trying to see. Let's see. 2020 was his first year.
No, has it been that long?
Yeah. So
maybe the Eric Bieniemy thing.
Season.
Maybe that's just what's confusing me.
Yeah, I really think that's how Bieniemy gets his first whack at being a head coach, is with Rivera getting either let go or stepping down, whatever. So let's move on to the NFC North. Who you got in this one?
I'm going to go with the Lions. The Vikings are not going to be as lucky this year, winning, like, I don't know, was it 9 games by like a point or whatever?
I think they won 11 one-score games last year.
Yeah. Like, they're not going to get this lucky. And I think the Lions will take them. I don't know. Lions like 12-5, and then Vikings 11-6 or something like
12 wins for the Lions? They got Barry goddamn Sanders back at running back, or what?
They're they showed a lot of improvement towards the end, and I feel like they got a lot of intensity, and they'll carry that forward.
Yeah. No, I love their coaching staff there. It's a bunch of former players. I mean, the guys love them. They play their hearts out for them. I also have the Lions winning this division, but I don't have them winning 12 games. I think this is going to be one of the divisions where it's like 10 wins gets it, and I think that's
Okay.
probably what the Lions will win. Who do you have second, third, fourth?
Uh, then Vikings, Packers, Bears.
Okay. Yeah, I think the Vikings are going to have a fall similar to what the Raiders had uh, last year because they had a very similar situation in the previous season where they were 10-7, but they won I think they won 7 one-score games or something like that. So like you said, I don't think they're going to be as lucky as they were last year. Have a regression to the mean there. So
Yeah.
I also think the Vikings will take second place in that division, but I think it's going to be like they'll be 8-9. I think the Bears are going to take a big step forward. Obviously, I think they won 3 games last year, so a big step
Yeah.
forward for them would be like 6-7 wins. And then I think the Packers will also be in that 6-7 win range. They have a good defense, but I haven't bought in completely on Jordan Love. They already have health issues with Romeo Dobbs and Christian Watkins. Is that his name?
I'm
Jesus.
not
I'm
sure.
so bad with names today. Christian Watson. There we go. So their top 2 wide receivers coming into the season, they already have injuries. So I just feel like Packers are definitely due for a step back. Vikings are due for a step back. Bears are going to jump forward, and then the Lions are just going to kind of be where they were last year, but maybe a slight step forward. Like I said, I think 10 wins takes this division. So
Yeah.
that's what I've got.
Like we mentioned it like last season, but the Vikings, 13-4, a -3 point differential.
It's
So
insane. And
they're they're not.
the,
It's not going to happen again.
the sad thing is, like, I love their coach, O'Connell. He's from the McVay tree. I think he's a really smart guy. But yeah, I think especially losing Dalvin Cook, I mean, I just don't feel like they got better as a team. Obviously, they have Justin Jefferson, and he's going to go off
Yeah.
for 2,000 yards probably.
Well,
But outside of
he'll probably
that,
get double covered and stuff, but
I mean, they just signed T.J. Hawkinson as well to a massive contract, highest paid tight end ever in the history of football, which
man,
I don't get
I've
it.
got him on my fantasy team, but it said he's questionable. I didn't look to see what his injury was, but
Yeah, I don't know, but that's just insane to me. Like, I feel like he's maybe the 5th best tight end in the league, maybe, and they're paying him more than Travis Kelce. Ooh, that's rough. But anyway, I guess he kind of had all the leverage in that contract situation because they traded for him and he had an expiring contract. So if they didn't want to waste all the draft capital they threw at him, they had to re-sign him. So anyway, let's move on to the South. This one's really fun for me because I feel like it's probably going to be the worst division in football.
you
Period.
mean like it was last year?
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's going to be fun because you have a lot of intriguing stories. So, well, let's have you go first because I know you're going straight for your boy Baker Mayfield,
Um,
number 1.
well, okay. So last year, they they made the playoffs, with the losing record, but I don't, now it's Mayfield at the helm, which I like him. Um, but I kind of see them ending up in the same position. Um, and I do see the Saints taking it
Interesting.
with a winning record.
Okay. So you got
And then
Saints 1.
Bucks Bucks they'll probably end up the same, 8-9 or maybe 9-8. Because they'll shine a little bit and things will look, oh look, Mayfield's doing good and stuff, but um they had a more complete team last year, I felt like. I forget what kind of injuries they had and stuff, but they didn't do very good. So Saints, Bucks. I don't know. A lot of people feel good about the Falcons because they got some talent supposedly. Um,
We'll talk about that talent. You just finish up what you're saying here.
um, I'll take the Falcons third. Unfortunately, the midget in Carolina, he's he's gonna he's not gonna do good.
Oh, yeah. That
And midget, he's the same height as me. So
yeah. That just scares me. Like those pictures you see of him standing next to his offensive lineman, and it looks like he's literally a teenager. And it's just like, I mean, I know he's good, but the optics of it are not good. So we'll see. I actually love the Panthers. I think they have a very good defense, and then I'm liking what they're doing on offense as well. I don't think this is the year they take the next leap. Bryce, I think he's going to have. I know he was in a pro style offense in Alabama. He's supposedly the most polished rookie coming out of this draft. The size scares me, and I feel like their offense is probably still a year away from adding a couple weapons and getting it where it needs to be. Defense is really good, though, so it wouldn't surprise me to see them finish at the top of the division, but I'm going to say they finish second. I've got the Falcons finishing first in this division. And the reason I say that is because Arthur Smith is an absolute genius at as an offensive coordinator. Obviously, we'll see as a head coach. But the things that he can do with Cordero Patterson, he's got Kyle Pitts at tight end, which is just a monster waiting to be unleashed. Then you got Bijan as the rookie. You've got Drake London. You got Mac Hollins. Mac was a great number 2 for us last year. I think he definitely overachieved in the Raiders offense. So seeing him succeed would not surprise me at all there. The only question mark there that you really have is Desmond Ridder, and he was probably my favorite coming out of the draft last year. Didn't get to see much of him last year. Obviously, it looks like Kenny Pickett's probably the at the front of that draft from last year, which everyone was laughing at him because of his size. So maybe Bryce can use that to his advantage here. Granted, they were only talking about
I
hand
thought it was
size,
just Pickett's hand size.
yeah. Well, he's not the biggest guy either, so he's obviously a fierce competitor, and you can wear gloves if you need to. So, but no, I really do like the Falcons. Like I said, I think the Panthers, because their defense, end up second here. Saints, I think they have a very aging core, and I really think it just takes maybe 1 or 2 injuries on that defense for it to get pretty dicey. Cam Jordan's definitely getting up there. He's a very impressive player, but he's also, like I said, he's getting up there in age. Getting injured is a lot more likely. They did bring in the Honey Badger, which I still think he's a dynamic player, but I don't think he's quite what he was before. So
I don't know. Maybe Slant Boy will play a whole year.
Yeah, Michael Thomas, he would thrive with Derek Carr throwing him the football because Derek Carr loves doing all that underneath stuff. But can he stay healthy? And then you have the Kamara situation. So I don't know.
Well, I mean,
It's just
they did get Jameson Williams from Detroit. I like him.
yeah, he's definitely good. They did just have Jake Hayner, their 4th-round quarterback that they drafted. He just got busted for PEDs, so he's going to be out the first 6 games. So
I did see
Jameis
that. I did see a meme about that.
will be the backup, it looks like. I think he was probably going to be the backup anyway to Derek Carr. I don't know. I just feel like Derek Carr, he's always had the built-in excuse of, learning a new offensive playbook every season for his entire career. I know John Gruden's been there as a special consultant to try to help fuse that playbook to make it line up with what he does best. But we'll see. I just wouldn't be
I
surprised
feel like
at all
a
to
little
see
bit
them.
of a chip on his shoulder. It's going to make him.
Well,
he
he definitely looks yoked, but I don't really feel like he hasn't had that chip before because his entire Raiders career they've been trying to replace him. Like as soon as they brought in John Gruden, they said every single season it was like, oh, John Gruden doesn't like him. He's going to trade for another quarterback that he does like, and every season he stayed. So I don't know. I feel like that no trade contract that they gave him, or no trade clause in his contract last year, the Raiders gave him was kind of to ease his mind that he doesn't have to worry about, looking over his shoulder or whatever. And obviously, it just turned out that it basically got him released with no compensation for the Raiders. But anyway, I'm going to say Saints take third in the division, and then the Bucks end up last with Baker. I don't think it's necessarily him being awful or anything like that. I just feel like they went all in to win that Super Bowl with Tom Brady, and now they're dealing with the repercussions of that. They
Yeah.
they traded away a lot of assets. The salary cap wasn't in a good spot. Todd Bowles, man, I love that guy as a defensive coordinator, but it really is starting to look like he's not the answer as a head coach. Bruce Arians still being there up in the press box, putting
It's a
in
little
his
weird,
thoughts and everything
but
is kind of weird. So I don't know. It's just a weird situation going on in Tampa Bay. And I mean, last year you had teams wanting to hire Byron Leftwich, and now they're wondering if he can even be a good offensive coordinator without Tom Brady. So not good things going on in Tampa
yeah.
Bay. Sorry to
If
say that,
if any of my
Raph.
Tampa friends listen to this, good thing I already went on vacation because they
Yeah.
get super mad if I pick the Saints. Good thing
Yeah,
I'm
they
back
won't forgive
already.
you. All right, so let's move on to the NFC West last, unless you have anything else to say about South.
um, no. No.
Benny's
But
got,
I feel like it's still going to be pretty similar though, where everybody's like neck and neck. But
yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty piss poor division, and I think 9 wins might take it again. So, or was it 8 wins that took it last year?
no, eight took it last year. A losing
Yeah,
record took it.
that might be the
Um,
situation again. So we'll see. Benny agrees with you on the Saints there. So let's move on to the West. Who you got there?
I don't know. Such a tough one.
I,
um,
I think about it a little bit.
um, no, it's the 49ers just have way too much talent. I mean, like the Seahawks super surprised me last year. Um, but they still don't match up that great. Um, I do see the Rams doing a little better this year. Um, and I could see the Cardinals not winning any games.
Any at all? You're
Maybe,
calling the first
maybe
0
one.
17?
No, that
They're definitely
I don't.
trying to.
Yeah, I don't think the NFL will allow them to lose every game. So they'll win one or two.
But it's funny because it's pretty clear that they're trying to tank for Caleb Williams. And Caleb
And
Williams' dad
yeah,
came out today saying, well, he still has a couple more seasons available at USC if we need to. So, we don't want to put him into a bad situation. So it kind of seemed like the whole Eli Manning, Arch. What's the dad's name? Is it Archie?
yeah,
Yeah. So
or
it
like
seemed
they
like that
wouldn't.
situation where
Yeah,
they're basically saying, yeah, we don't want to go to the Cardinals. It seems like so.
I mean, I know you don't follow all the meme pages on Instagram,
I do
but
not.
um, their their head coach, he is awkward. Like
Yes, he
some of the
is.
little
Jonathan
videos I've
Gannon.
seen, he is so weird.
Well, that's the other reason I think the Eagles might take a step back at least is they lost their offensive and defensive coordinator. But yeah, this guy, whew,
He is
his
not.
introductory thing where he came and met the
Yeah,
team and he was like, "Oh yeah, you're the guy." Oh
yeah.
yeah,
Oh my god, he
yeah,
is like he's the exact opposite of Dan Campbell.
yes,
Like
yeah. He's very
people
awkward.
will throw themselves under a bus for Dan, but people
Prob-
for him, there's they're like, I don't know, players who can wear bags on their heads or something. It's
Yeah, it's going to be a bad situation there. Look at that. Benny says, Mom's even watching. Impressive. Hi, Ma. um, okay, so you have Niners, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals. Did I hear that right?
yeah.
Okay.
I
So,
would be surprised if the Cardinals win more than 2 games.
yeah, they're full on take. I mean, they essentially put Kyler on the IR, or he's on the pup. Either way, I can't remember if he's on pup or IR, but either way, he's missing at least the first 4 games. There's a lot of speculation that he might not even be able to play this season at all because of how late in the season the ACL happened last year. Um, so he could miss the entire season, and that could be why they're looking to replace him essentially. So yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. They're going to be the worst team in the league, which last year we were saying Seahawks were going to be the worst team in the league at this time of the year. So obviously they could surprise us, but I don't see the talent there at all with Cardinals. The Seahawks
Yeah, they at
had
least had people that wanted to play
right, but
and
they
had a
also had
coach
one
that they
of
wanted to
the
play for.
yes, and they had one of the best drafts last year. They had so many impact rookies that came on and just made an impact right off the bat. And I think they had, obviously, it's too early to say, but I think they had one of the best drafts again this season. So that's where I was like struggling a little bit between Seahawks and Niners. I do think the Niners are better, but the thing that scares me is if Brock gets hurt again and you guys have to run Sam Darnold out there for 10 games. And then Kittle's always hurt. Like you guys have a ton of guys that get hurt a lot. And
Yeah,
it's kind of like the same with the Chargers, except you guys still continue to win despite the injuries, where the Chargers are just like, look at all these excuses we have. Um, so, no, I think you guys have one of the best rosters in the NFL, but the depth is what concerns me because CMC, obviously one of the best running backs, multi position threats in the entire NFL. Probably the best all around package. But when he was with Carolina, he was always hurt. So a lot of these key positions that you guys have, it scares me because
yeah. I
if
mean,
someone
well,
goes down, who's going to be next man up?
we will rely on CMC a lot, but at the same time, he's not our only horse.
Right.
Like Ayuk has,
Ayuk, I think
shown up and he's
he's pegged
awesome.
for a huge season this year, I think.
And Debo, he's looking good. He's supposed like I mean, he wasn't that bad last year, but he wasn't like that
He wasn't,
impact player
yeah.
that we were looking for. And Kittle did practice today, so that's a good
Very
sign.
nice, very nice.
But when he was in Carolina, he was basically their Derrick Henry. Like
Yep.
it's going to McCaffrey. That's all
Yep.
anybody had to worry about. So
Well,
now
yeah, and
there's
you guys kind of put him on a pitch clock or a pitch count, so to speak, towards the end of the season there to make sure he was healthy for the playoffs. I think there towards the end of the season they started using him probably a little more than they would have liked to, uh, throwing to him, making him throw, running the
yeah.
ball. So I think Shanahan was just like, oh my god, the possibilities are unlimited with this guy. So that's the thing that scares me is Shanahan getting too excited about what he can do and overworking him. But no, you're right. And you guys have capable backup running backs as well.
Yeah,
It's
like I
just
mean, they
the
they
collective.
also like to get hurt, but
Yes.
Mitchell should be good to go. And then I don't know, we do know how to pick backup running backs, so
Yep.
that's
So
been working out for us. So
I do have you guys first. Seahawks, I think, like I said, I think they had one of the better drafts again. So I don't think there's going to be any fallback from them. I think they'll be neck and neck right with you guys all the way to the end of the season. Rams, like you said, they'll be better with Stafford, but I think the talent on that roster is definitely down, even over last year.
yeah, I mean, I feel
So
like it's him and Cooper.
Cooper's hurt.
Is he
I mean,
hurt
he's
already? Still?
yeah. They said he's out for at least the first week. He's seeing
Oh,
a specialist for his hamstrings. So, I mean, that's not a good situation. Defense is gutted, and I really think the best thing that the Rams could do is trade Aaron Donald at this point. Send him off to a team that can actually use him, that's going to be in the playoff race, get some assets back like they did with Jalen Ramsey, although I feel like they basically gave him away because Ramsey said, I only want to play for the Dolphins. But yeah, I think the Rams will be bad this year. I don't think they're going to be as bad as the Cardinals just because they have Matt Stafford. They've got a few weapons on offense, but that offensive line is awful. Defense is, like I said, it's definitely on the decline as well. So this is going to be like a very top heavy division with Seahawks and Niners, and then the back half is going to be awful, like atrocious, probably two of the worst teams in the NFL. So
yeah. Actually, yeah. Looking at all four right now, I could see that. Like you said, the Bears are going to do better. Like 6 wins, and then yeah, the Rams and Cardinals will definitely be the bottom two.
yep, Bucks too. I feel like they're going to take a quick step or a huge step back. So yeah, I think those are going to be the worst three teams in the NFC: Rams, Cardinals, and Bucks. So, ugh, fun stuff. I can't wait for this season to start. And like I said, I want everyone to have their picks in for like the NFL awards, so we can't change it based off of what we see
Oh,
in
oh, you
week
mean
one.
like defensive and all
Yeah,
those? Oh
yep,
man.
all those awards. So we'll obviously not do those on this episode, but before the start of the main stretch of games on Sunday, if everyone has their picks in, even if we don't record before then, we can, whenever we record again, which hopefully it's Saturday, is what I'm hoping for. Obviously, that's only in a couple days, but if we can get it recorded on Saturday, we can get all our awards in, uh, playoff predictions, and all that fun stuff. We will talk about that. Benny just asked about Travis Kelce. Is he going to play in the game tomorrow? They have him listed as questionable, and he was limited in practice. They said it was not anything structural. It's just a bone bruise, so tendons and everything are intact. I would guess they don't play him tomorrow because it's the first game of the season. You don't risk your most critical offensive weapon to try to win game one. I don't think that's something they do. In fact, I think
I
the
mean,
Lions
if
already
he doesn't
moved.
play, then I might have to change my pick to the Lions.
I did pick the Lions. Be this prior to me knowing, I thought he probably dicked up his knee like worse than it was. So yeah, I picked the Lions to win against the Chiefs tomorrow. So Benny, who you got tomorrow? Assuming Kelsey doesn't play in the Chiefs home opener against the Lions. See what he says. I know the line before they knew the extent of the injury, the line was -6 for the Chiefs. I haven't seen it updated since then, but
Hyperextended knee.
yeah, Benny's picking the Lions. So yeah, I would for sure, if I was betting this game, I would take the Lions with the points. I don't know if I'd pick them straight up, but I did pick them straight up in our Pick'em League. And that's also another reminder, if you haven't signed up for the league, I know we only have a few that have signed up so far. You have, I mean, I guess technically you have all year to sign up, but we'd prefer everyone has the same amount of games picked. So if you can sign up before the game starts tomorrow, you can lock in your pick for the Pick'em League. And then we're also doing the Eliminator Challenge, which you don't technically have to sign up for that until you have until Sunday. No, you have till Monday night to pick that last game. But if you want your whole slew of picks to pick from, uh, it would be wise to sign up before tomorrow. I'll post this clip, so it's a reminder for everyone to go in there and sign up. We have the links posted on the Facebook page, the Twitter page, and the Instagram page. But as Instagram works, you can't actually post links, so you have to like copy and paste. So if you want the quick link, just message the page. We can send you out the actual link for it, so you can just click it and jump right in. We're doing it through ESPN. So, any parting words, Raph, before we call it?
No, just hope to see you guys soon.
All right. So with that being said, we'll call this, and I am super excited for this NFL season to kick off because, as you know, my A's are not having a great season. So this is one of the few seasons where I'm actually ready for football to start because, baseball is my one true love. But as bad as my A's have been, it's been tough to watch. So we will catch you guys on the next episode, and hopefully you guys all sign up for the pick'em and we can have a nice competitive league there. And obviously the fantasy league starts tomorrow as well. So we will catch you guys on the next
for
episode.
those leagues, but you get to win some money.
It is a free sponsored event where you can win money. No buy-in for you to do the pick'ems or the eliminator challenge. So make sure you sign up. Hit me up for the links. Catch you on the next episode.